Welcome to our launch webinar for Maths Week, Maths Game On. My name's Ruth Perry and I'm Policy Officer at NatSpec. One of my responsibilities is to help drive up improvements in teaching and learning and in the curriculum more generally. So that's my role with Maths Week. I'm joined today by Lisa Featherstone from Henshaw's College, who is a long-time friend of NatSpec and has worked with us on Maths Week before. So welcome, Lisa. Thank you very much for joining us again.
My pleasure.
Just a quick note for you, for those of you who aren't familiar with NatSpec, with a membership organisation for learning providers who offer specialist provision for students with learning difficulties and disabilities. All our colleges work with learners aged 16 and over. And our partner this year, as with last year, is National Numeracy. They are an independent charity that help raise levels of numeracy among adults and children, and particularly promote the importance of everyday math skills. So welcome to our webinar. We will be hopefully enthusing you about what you might get up to in Maths Week and giving you some ideas about what you could be doing back in your own schools and colleges. So why have a Maths Week? What's it all about? Well, we see it as a huge opportunity to put the spotlight on math. It's something that we're doing all of the time. NatSpec had a project a couple of years ago now called Make Maths Visible. And the purpose of that was really to shine a light on the maths that is going on without learners and sometimes teachers too being aware that they are developing math skills or they are engaging in activities that are rich in maths opportunities. So that's the first reason. We also know it can be a difficult area, both for young people and for teachers. It's not the easiest curriculum area to work on when you're working with young people with learning difficulties or disabilities. So it's an opportunity to tackle that together and look at some of the challenges. It's also about building a community of practice. It's very easy to feel quite isolated in what you're doing within your own setting, but Maths Week gives you an opportunity to hook up with like-minded people all around the country, working with similar student groups, and allows you to put your heads together, have a bit of a laugh together, and to celebrate what you're doing together as well. And that brings me to the last point. It is all about having some fun with maths. We hope that we set up or give you ideas about doing things that are enjoyable, that feel as though you've come sort of off curriculum, off timetable a bit, and are able to have some fun with the subject that can sometimes, as I said, feel a bit tricky. So that's what it's all about. That's why we do it. It's not our first time. This is the third year. Going to reflect with Lisa, who was involved last year, on some of the things that happened last year to give you a flavour for what our Maths Weeks are all about.
Thanks, Ruth. It's actually my third year as well. So last year we had, the competition last year was to do measurements, but using non-standard measuring units, if you like. So as you see there, one of our winners, I think that was from Penguin, I'll get it right, and Mikey is 4 chickens tall. The other images, the one with the frog, was Blackburn College, who converted a huge number of things, for want of a better word, into Cadbury's cream eggs. So I was told how many Cadbury's cream eggs I was told, and that we had all sorts of great stuff going on. We also had, it was called Leap into Maths because we started on the 29th of February last year. And it's amazing just how creative and innovative students and teachers within our sector can be, and it was fantastic. We had ladies measuring the length of rooms in trousers. It was brilliant. It was great. And every year so far, I've been absolutely astonished and delighted. And I see on Twitter that Seashell, who one of our winners last year, has laid a gauntlet down. They'll be going for it again this year. So really, the message is anything goes. Be creative. Look at the brief. Look at what the competition and the ideas are. And be innovative. Be creative.
If anybody listening today was involved last year, do use the chat pane to share any memories of last year, any particular activity or learning that was particularly useful. Then do use that chat pane to share that with us, and we'll reflect that back. Lisa, you promised me that part of what happened last year was my predecessor, Alison Bolton, put out a call for maths jokes, and well, I heard some of them. They were pretty dreadful, but Lisa was very tickled by them. Any of those that you wanted to share,
to say.
Lisa?
I think one of my favourites from Alison last year was about a shepherd who had a talking sheepdog, who was very clever, and he sent him out to go and collect all his sheep. And so the dog did exactly as he was told, and he came back, and he said, "There you go, all the sheep are in the pen, all 40 of them." And the shepherd said, "But I've only got 36. And the sheepdog said, "Yes, but I rounded them up." Now, come on. That's great. I love that. And there's one of my favourites. You're getting two for the price of one here. There are 10 types of people who understand binary. Those who do and those who don't. A bit more geeky, I think you'll find. There you go. No more terrible jokes. Or if anybody's got any jokes, please do put them in the chat pane. Or on Twitter.
I did warn you all. Okay, so that was last year with our Leap into Maths and Measuring theme. This year we've gone for Maths Game On. And I thought I'd just share with you where the idea came from in the first place. Before I took over from Alison in January, she invited me along to a few things with her as a sort of handover period. And one of the things she asked me if I'd like to come with her to was a launch event run by National Numeracy, our partners in Maths Week, for a new app called Star Dash Studios, which I would highly recommend to you. They developed it as a fun way to get young people, especially later teenagers and young adults who are used to gaming online, playing on their phones, on tablets, to develop a game that had a lot of the characteristics of the kind of games that they play anyway, but peppered with lots of different maths activities. If you're familiar with Temple Run or Subway Surfers, or you work with youngsters who play those sorts of games, it's a little bit like that, but with a lot of maths thrown in. I could do the maths, but I couldn't do the chasing and collecting the coins, and got myself terribly tripped up on that. But after attending that launch, I just began to see maths in every game that you come across. Lisa's going to talk through some different types of games and how the maths fits in a moment. But it really inspired me to think, this would be a good one for Maths Week. This is really what Maths Week's all about, having fun and doing maths at the same time. So there are 3 key messages that I would like you to take away about Maths Game On. One of those is that maths isn't just about school or college classrooms, or even about the maths that you need when you're doing a job. It's also useful when we're having fun, when we're out and about at leisure playing. So that's one key message, perhaps particularly for students, that one. The second one is aimed more at teachers, tutors, that playing games can be a really rich context for developing math skills. And the third one is for all of us, important message that maths can be fun. Okay, so Lisa's going to take you through some suggestions for how you might, or what the sort of games that you might engage in when you're thinking about ways to use gaming to develop math skills. While she's running through those, do use the chat pane if you think there are things that we've missed. These are just ideas from the top of our heads, you may well have others. Over to you, Lisa.
Right. What sort of games? Well, obviously, card games are the obvious dice games there, which are the obvious ones for maths, but there's also lots of others as well. Thinking about, there's a set of, not snooker, pool balls there. Now, obviously, those are angles, speed, velocity. So maths is really important in that. So we're thinking about spatial awareness, which would also involve most all Xbox games. Is that an Xbox controller there? Similarly, lots of angles and speed and all the rest of it with actual physical ball games. And of course, Monopoly, the one thing to ruin all family Christmases. And of course, the logo that Ruth's done there, which are dice, which again are all numbers, figures, probability, data, lots of things in there. I'm sure there's lots of other ideas there. And of course, you can be doing physical games with your students. You can be doing card or board games, and you can also be doing electronic and lots of others that you might think of that we haven't done.
And I'll put in a reminder there that it's not just about the playing of the games, but if you do creating of games, then there's maths involved in the creation as well. As you measure things out, you decide how many of certain cards that you need, you decide on the shape you want for your counters and all the rest of it. So lots of different types of games. Although we've used the dice logo, don't feel restricted to your traditional old board game. Anything that you can think of as playful, as engaging people in gaming activity, that's all good. So that was a quick look at what sort of games. We're going to follow up with a look at what sort of maths skills. Lisa and I have divided between us the three key areas covered by the Adult Basic Skills Standard. So that's number, measure, shape and space, and data, recording, presenting data. I thought I'd steal the easy one, the obvious one, number. Although when I've seen what Lisa's covering with the other two, I think they're probably even richer. But obviously there's counting, number recognition, simple calculations, cardinal and ordinal numbers, ordering and sequencing, looking for patterns, counting in terms of backwards and forwards, in counting in twos, counting in tens, odds and evens, lots of possibilities there. If you think about games that involve counters, games that have numbered boards, games that require you to move backwards and forwards, you see the snakes and ladders there. You could be making simple calculations when you're adding up scores, taking away penalty points, working out who came first, second, third. There's loads of possibilities there. In some ways, number is the easiest, I think, and it's the most obvious for non-specialists. When you think about teaching maths, you think about numbers and counting, but there are plenty of other things to be thinking about as well. Do use that chat pane if you've got ideas that we're not covering. This is a whistle-stop tour on our part just to get those creative juices running. So I'm going to hand over to Lisa to look at measure, shape and space.
Now, obviously, there's lots of things you can do with this, and we sort of covered this last year a lot in measurement. But it's not. Think of sort of a little bit laterally, if you like. So, shape, for example, names of shapes, the dimensions, comparisons, bigger and smaller, sizes you could match, and pairing, do a lot of sorting, comparisons, as I said before. Also with shape, don't forget you can turn them around. So you can look at symmetry. What does a square look like when it's on its point, for example? Is it still a square? And think about things like that. With measurement, obviously, length, width, height, volume, time, money. And again, with space, think about positional vocabulary. some of your more complex learners may not be able to, may struggle with the sort of numerical things, but could very easily talk about something being on top of the table, under the table, in front of, left, right, and all those sorts of things. How could you build these into a game? So throwing the furthest, who took the longest, how many people did the most star jumps, or one of our winners last year was a young man who used a walking frame, and he walked the length of the hall without his frame and counted all the steps, and then he walked the length of the hall with his walking frame, and surprisingly he took fewer steps because he was more balanced. And that was one of our winners, because I think that was a great piece of maths, really maths in position, in progress, if you like. Guessing games you can do on those. Really, your creativity can know no bounds in these. So, Ruth, can you go to the next one, please?
Yeah.
And data. Now, data sounds really hard, doesn't it? It sounds complicated. But actually, our first Maths Week, Making Maths Visible, we actually did a survey of everybody's favourite pizza topping, and the competition that year was to show a graphical representation of the data. So we had lots of pie, pizza charts, but we also had bar graphs in the form of plants from one college. We had a bar graph in the form of students actually lining up to represent the favourites. There's lots of different ways of using data. Again, you can do sorting, numerically ordered lists, sequencing, really important. Keeping the score in the game, recording winners, perhaps doing a game over a period of a whole week, the Maths Week, or even a whole term, and then working out how you've improved, how you get better, and how you can predict, because that's one thing that obviously big data is used to predict how something might happen in the future. So you're looking at previous performance, and then looking at predicted performance, and also the rules. Don't forget to put rules in there as well. Okay, Ruth.
Okie dokie. So I hope that quick whistle-stop tour through those three key areas of maths have given you some ideas about how you might join those up with the concept of game playing. Really important to us is this idea of building enthusiasm across a large group of providers, building that community of practice, and we need your help to do that. So we're asking you to share the fun. Twitter will be our main social media means of sharing that. We've created the hashtag MathsGameOn. If you tweet, and we would really encourage you to do that, or to get your students to, some of you have student accounts, Twitter accounts, others, some students may feel it's appropriate to tweet on their own accounts, but obviously you'll need to talk them through the sort of the etiquette of that and safety and so on. But if you do tweet, please do use that hashtag MathsGameOn. That allows other people to search using that term to see what other people are doing. We will be busy at NatSpec retweeting. We hope our partner, National Numeracy, will be doing the same. They've offered to help share what everybody's up to, and NAS too. So please use the hashtag, retweet, tweet and retweet. Obviously, Twitter's limited in terms of how much you can put up there. So you might want to put other information, pictures, whatever it might be, on your own websites or Facebook pages, and then tweet a link to them from Twitter, and we can be retweeting that. If you're up for it, by all means, submit a short blog or a vlog video version, and we can put that up on the NatSpec website and tweet links to that for you. There are ways of sharing across the country what we're up to, but you might want to think about doing a shared activity more locally. So you might partner up with another provider nearby, either virtually or actually get together to do some things. Last year we had, or was it the year before? Let me think. What one or the other anyway. We had, I think it was the year before with the pizzas. We had one specialist college team up with a local FE college, and some of the sixth form students work together. So there are opportunities to think about engaging with other providers nearby if you wanted to. And the second two bullets are really about how you might share the fun within your own setting. Apologies for the college references. I've got college in my head for coming from the NatSpec perspective, but in your own organisation, so your school, or if you're an adult learning provider within your service, how you might get together and celebrate it across your organisation. One of the suggestions there is that you might have a mini competition of your own. You might hold a gaming session to test out some of the things that your students have come up with. I gather we lost Lisa briefly during that, but are you back now, Lisa?
I am, and you've obviously soldiered on and didn't even notice I'd gone. Thank goodness for that. Well, I do apologise.
Not at all. I'd noticed you were gone before I tried to ask you to comment on something, but I wondered if you would just talk people through. I think that we've had one or two examples in previous years of colleges working together to come up with something for Maths Week.
Yeah, we did. A couple of years ago, we had a college with their local mainstream FE college worked together, and their A-level students came along with specialist college students, and I think they had a couple of sessions where they all made pizzas, because that was the theme that year. And in fact, what they did is then did their own competition entries for the data competition to show to represent. And in fact, the A-level students, the tutors stood on a balcony, and they did a Benny Hill type fast thing with people moving into to produce a bar graph of people, if you see what I mean. I don't know if that makes sense. I know what it meant. So that was really good. We've had some collaboration both with different departments in colleges as well. So that's been useful. That's been really helpful. But we've also had multiple applications, which I think probably goes on to the next bit, from the same college. So I'll hand back to you there, Ruth, if that's all right.
So far we've really talked about Maths Week in general, and it is about much more than the competition, but it is very much about the competition too. So let's have a look at what the competition is this year. This is a slide that you can use to present it to your students. It's a very simple set of rules there. They simply have to create a game of any kind. So we've covered some of the types that they might come up with, but your own and their imaginations are the limit. But the game must help them to develop math skills that are useful to them and that's fun to play. So a very, very open remit to get you thinking about what you might do. So in terms of how you engage with that, all we need from you is details of the students, so just their names. They need to be age 16 plus. We need a college or organisational contact email address so that we can get in touch with you and let you know if you've won. When you send the information to us, we need something that tells us about the game, what it was, how you play it, and what are the math skills being developed. And the evidence that you produce for that could be in any format whatsoever. So you could just make a video and send it to us. You could send us a series of photos with a covering email. It might be that you record something with the students in terms of sound file. It might be that you write it all up as a written report, so you may be using it for other purposes as well. We really don't mind what it looks like, so long as it tells us about the game, what it was, how it's played, and what the math skills are. Ideally, that's just sent then in an email to our administrator at NatSpec, Rita Buckley, who will collate it all. We recognise sometimes you create something video-wise, it's so large, it's not easy to send. In which case, email Rita with the basic information and a request for, is there a way to get this to you? So it might be that we can use Dropbox. We might suggest if you've got your own YouTube channel that you post it on there and then send us a link. What we don't want is boxes and boxes of stuff getting sent to Rita physically. I sent her an email checking if she was happy to collate all of this. And she emailed me back saying, will it take up a lot of space in the office? I think she had visions of lots of games for us to play. Well, that would be quite exciting. We just don't have the space for all of that. So it needs to be something that can be sent to us electronically in one format or another. And it needs to come to us by 5 o'clock on Friday, the 3rd of March. So that's the end of Maths Week. And hopefully by introducing the idea, the concepts now, we can get you thinking about it in time. You've got something to send to us out. So that you've got something to send to us by the end of the week. Okay. I'm going to ask Lisa now just to talk you through the judging process, what the criteria that we'll be using. Just a second. There we go. Are you there, Lisa?
Oh, I am. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Right. Yeah. Sorry, I lost my audio again, so I was just dialing back in. What we're looking for. Evidence that students have been actively involved in designing the game. I think you can tell. I think students are great. They've got such great, really creative and come up with some great ideas, and it's sort of corralling those ideas together to make a sort of a good game. I think that's going to be a really interesting piece of work for everyone taking part. The game has helped them to develop and practice math skills, obviously. That's what we're talking about. And the math skills are relevant to them and could be used in other contexts. I know we're always looking for that elusive transfer of skills, but if we can do that in this, that would be great. And where appropriate, the learners are aware of the math skills that they're using. Now, when I mentioned about some of our more complex learners talking about on top of and below and things, they may not be aware that those are math skills. But if you could include that to the fact that if you're aware, that would be good. And also that it's been fun, because that's the whole point of the exercise, is to say maths is fun. Hello, Ruth.
We will, Lisa and I probably together will be shortlisting to pick out a number that we think are particularly commendable against those general criteria there. And then our partner, National Numeracy, for added objectivity, we'll be picking a winner or winners, again, quite open. I think we've had a draw in the past from those selected, shortlisted entrants. So that's how we will decide who is, who gets the prizes. Just a quick reminder here that this is about engaging people actively in maths, having fun with maths. It isn't a really rigid set of criteria that we're working with here. So the answer to most questions, and you're very welcome to send them to questions to us if you want to check anything, but the answer is probably going to be yes. So is it okay if we adapt an existing game? So if you take an existing numbered board, a chessboard, or whatever it might be, and do something else with it, that's absolutely fine, so long as there is creativity around what you're doing with that. Can a single organisation submit lots of different entries, so enter different groups or individual students? Absolutely yes, the more the merrier. If the students worked on their own, can you forward something there? Does it have to be a group? No, anyone, a single student, multiple students. We would suggest you don't have entrants from very large groups. partly because, if we send you a box of chocolates, that won't go very far. It won't be chocolates. I'm still working on the prize. But we would prefer them to come from, sort of smaller groups, so that so each student has had an active part to play, rather than a few have come up with something and then you put it forward from a much larger group. Can you put everything into a video? Absolutely yes. And of course, we're talking about students with learning difficulties and disabilities. They may need plenty of support to create that game. So long as the ideas have come from them, so long as they've been actively involved in the creation, and it's not just something that you've done for them and then they've played with and enjoyed. So long as they meet that criteria, absolutely fine. So the message there very much is pretty much anything goes, so long as you're working in the spirit of the game. We will be announcing the winner at the NatSpec conference, the drinks reception on the Tuesday, 21st of March, and we will obviously be emailing out to the lucky winners. There will be prizes, dice themed, I think, but I haven't quite got there yet. I've been searching on Amazon. I was sticking dice into the search engine, and all sorts of weird and wonderful things have been coming up. A lot of them are quite rude and adult themed, so I'll have to refine my search terms a little bit, I think. So yes, we will be announcing those, that we'll have them in our NatSpec newsletter and so on, and we hope if winners come from from your school, college, organisation, that you will also publicise that as well and let us know how you do that, and we will cover it ourselves as well. So I think that brings us to the end of our webinar. We'd like to encourage you to get thinking, get playing, be as creative as you can, and if you want to find out more about what's going on, as follow us on Twitter. Search on Twitter using the Maths Game On hashtag, and there is information up there on our website that you can have a look at as well. And we will also be posting a recording of this webinar if you wanted to go back and have another look, or if you wanted to let other colleagues know about it. If you use the link that you were given originally, where you've or contact Rita Buckley, she'll be able to alert you to any fresh information. So anything you wanted to add at the end there, Lisa?
It might be worth mentioning Maths Week actually begins the 27th of February.
Oh yes, good idea.
And do we have a deadline for the competition entries?
Yes, we've put it as the Friday of that week.
Yeah, okay. So that's probably the 2nd, 27th, 28th?
It's the
3rd of March.
Yes, it's on the slide there. It's the Friday the 3rd. Yeah, sorry.
Brilliant.
I think that brings us to the end then. Just one final thing I would like to say, and that's a big thank you to NAS, who have hosted the webinar for us. And we're very grateful to Karen, who's got everything together in a very short space of time and made this happen for us today.
Indeed. And thank you all for taking